Have you ever opened a book and wished it could speak to you? Not just with words, but with a voice that wakes something inside you? Maybe you have tried many ways to learn English. You studied grammar, you memorized words, you watched videos. But still, when it is time to speak, your mind becomes quiet and your mouth feels locked. You understand more than you can say. And that feeling hurts. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you feel like something is missing inside you. But what if the problem is not you? What if the problem is how you are learning? Today, I want to show you something different. Not a method full of rules, not a system full of pressure, but a simple idea. A book that does not just teach you English, it teaches you to speak. A book that becomes your friend. A book that listens to you. A book that slowly changes the way you think, feel, and express yourself. Because speaking English is not just about words. It is about confidence. It is about feeling. It is about becoming someone who is not afraid to use their voice. Comment if you've ever felt this way. By the end of this video, you will not just see learning in a new way, you will feel a new power inside you. A quiet confidence, a simple path. And maybe, for the first time, you will believe, yes, I can speak. Chapter 1. The book I was afraid to open. There was a time when I had a book in front of me, but I did not open it. It sounds strange, right? A book is just paper. It cannot hurt you. It cannot judge you. But still, I felt fear. Not fear of the book, but fear of what it showed me. Because every time I opened that book, I saw words I did not understand. I saw sentences that looked too big, and slowly, I started to believe something dangerous. I started to believe, this is not for me. Maybe you know this feeling. You sit with a book, and your eyes move across the page, but your mind does not move with them. You read one line, then again, but nothing stays. It feels heavy. It feels slow. And then your heart says, why is this so hard for me? That question is not small. That question is painful because it makes you feel like you are behind others. Like you are not good enough. I remember one day very clearly. I was sitting alone with that same book in my hands. The room was quiet, too quiet. And inside me, there was a voice. It was not loud, but it was strong. It said, close the book. You are wasting your time. And for a moment, I almost listened. I almost closed it. I almost gave up, but something else inside me, something very small, said, wait. That small voice did not say big words. It did not give a long speech. It just said, try one more time, but in a different way. That moment changed everything because I stopped trying to understand everything. I stopped trying to be perfect. I stopped trying to read like a student, and I started reading like a human. Slowly, gently, without fear. Instead of asking, do I understand all words? I asked, can I feel this sentence? This was new. This was strange, but it was powerful. I read one simple sentence, just one, and I said it out loud. My voice was not strong. It was not perfect, but it was real. And something surprising happened. I felt something move inside me. It was small, but it was alive.
That was the first time I understood something important. Reading is not just seeing words.
Reading can become speaking if you let it. Most people read silently. Their eyes work, but their voice sleeps. And then they say, I understand English, but I cannot speak.
Of course you cannot speak,
because you never trained your voice. You trained your eyes, trained your brain, But your mouth, your tongue, your confidence, they are still waiting. This is the hidden truth. If you read without speaking, you are only doing half the work. And this is where the book changes. Because this book, this special book, is not for silent reading. It is for living reading. It is for feeling. It is for speaking. Imagine this. You open a book, and instead of rushing, you slow down. You read one line, then you stop. You say it, you repeat it, not like a robot, but like a person who feels the meaning. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Your voice feels weak. Your pronunciation feels strange. You may even feel embarrassed, even if you are alone. But stay with me here, because this is where the magic begins. Your voice is like a muscle. If you do not use it, it becomes weak. If you use it slowly, it becomes strong. And this book, this simple book, becomes your training ground. There is a moment, a very special moment, when you say a sentence for the third or fourth time, and suddenly, it feels easier. It flows a little better. Your mouth does not fight the words anymore. It follows them. That moment is not just progress. That moment is proof. Proof that you are changing. And here is something most people never realize. Fluency is not a gift. It is a feeling you build. You build it sentence by sentence, day by day, not by rushing, but by repeating. There was a line in that book that I remember even now. It was simple, very simple, but stayed with me. I read it many times, and one day, I did not just read it, I felt it. I said it without fear. I said it like it was mine. That day, I smiled, not because I became fluent, but because I saw the path. And the path was not hard. It was simple, but it needed one thing: consistency. Most people fail, not because they are not smart. They fail because they stop too early. They open the book, they feel confused, and they close it. But what if you did not close it? What if you stayed? What if you read one page, just one page, every day, and spoke every sentence? Your progress would not be loud. It would not be fast, but it would be real. And one day, you would open that same book, and you would not feel fear. You would feel something else. You would feel control. Here is a truth that might surprise you. The book you are afraid to open is the book that can change your life, not because it is special, but because it can change you if you use it the right way. And now, I want you to imagine something. You are sitting with your book, but this time, you are not afraid. You are curious. You open it. You read slowly. You speak softly. And every day, your voice becomes stronger. That is not a dream. That is a decision. And it can start today. But only if you stop running from the book and start walking with it. Now tell me honestly, are you still afraid to open your book? Or are you ready to let it teach you how to speak? Because in the next part, something even more powerful is waiting for you. Something that will change how you see words forever. Chapter 2. When words start talking back to you. There is a moment, a very quiet moment, when something strange begins to happen with your book. At first, you are the one reading the words. You look at them. You try to understand them. You try to say them. It feels like work. It feels like effort. But if you stay, if you keep reading slowly, if you keep speaking those small sentences again and again, one day, the feeling changes. The words stop feeling like strangers. They stop feeling like something outside you. And suddenly, It feels like the words are talking back to you. This is not magic. This is connection. I remember the first time I felt this. I was reading a very simple sentence. It was not long. It was not difficult, but I had read it many times before. That day, something changed. When I said the sentence, I did not think about each word. I did not stop to translate. I did not feel confused. The sentence came out naturally. And for a second, I was shocked. I stopped and said to myself, did I just say that without thinking? That small moment was powerful because it showed me something important. Your brain does not need to translate. It needs to connect. Most learners stay stuck because they try to understand English through another language. They read a sentence, then they stop, then they translate, then they try to speak. But this process is slow. It breaks your confidence. It makes speaking feel heavy. And the more you depend on translation, the more your voice stays locked.
But when you read and speak at the same time, something different happens. Your brain starts to build direct meaning. You see a word, and instead of thinking in another language, you feel it. You understand it like a picture, like a small idea, like a moment in life. Think about this for a second. When you see a glass of water, do you translate in your mind? Do you say the word in your first language first? No. You just see it. You understand it immediately. This is how language should feel. And your book, this simple book, can teach you this, but only if you use it the right way. Do not rush. Do not try to read fast. Slow reading is powerful reading. When you slow down, your brain has time to feel the sentence. Your mouth has time to shape the words. Your mind has time to connect. Let me tell you something very honest. Fast reading will not make you fluent. Deep reading will. There is a big difference. Fast reading fills your eyes. Deep reading builds your voice. So now imagine this. You open your book, you read one sentence, then you stop. You close your eyes for a second. You see the meaning. You feel the situation. Then you say the sentence again, but this time with feeling. At first, it feels slow, maybe even boring. But stay with me, because something is happening inside you. Your brain is creating new paths. Your voice is learning new movements. Your confidence is growing quietly. And then comes the moment. The moment when the sentence does not feel like something you learned. It feels like something you already know. That is when the words start talking back to you. They are no longer just text on a page. They become your thoughts. They become your voice. This is the shift. This is the real change. And here is something that might surprise you. You do not need big words for this. You do not need difficult grammar. You need simple sentences, simple words, repeated many times. Because fluency is not about how much you know. It is about how easily you can use what you know. There was a time when I tried to learn big words. I thought that would make me sound smart. I thought that would make me fluent. But every time I tried to use them, I felt stuck. My sentences broke. My confidence dropped. And I realized something important. Big words without confidence are useless. Simple words with confidence are powerful. So I changed my way. I went back to simple sentences. I read them. I spoke them. I repeated them again and again. And slowly, my voice became stronger. My speaking became smoother. Not perfect, but real. And that is what you need. Not perfect English. Real English. English that you can use. English that comes out when you need it. There is a line I want you to remember. Do not chase difficult English. Master simple English, because when you master simple English, you can say anything. Now let me ask you something. When you read your book,
Do you feel the words, or do you just see them? Because this question changes everything. If you only see the words, you stay outside the language. But if you feel the words, you step inside it. And once you step inside, everything becomes easier. You stop fighting the language. You start living it. There will be days when you feel slow, days when your tongue feels heavy, days when you think nothing is changing. That is normal. That is part of the journey. But here is your retention moment. Listen carefully. The change you are waiting for is happening in silence. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it is not growing. Your brain is learning. Your voice is practicing. Your confidence is building quietly, slowly, powerfully. So do not stop. Keep reading. Keep speaking. Keep feeling. Because one day, very soon, you will open your mouth and words will come out, not because you forced them, but because they are now a part of you. And when that happens, you will not just speak English, you will feel free. And in the next chapter, I will show you something even deeper. A simple habit that turns your book into a real-life conversation partner. Chapter 3. When the book becomes your speaking partner. There is a moment in your journey when something very powerful begins to change. At the beginning, your book feels like an object. It sits in front of you. It gives you words. You read them. You try to understand them. It feels one-sided. You take, and the book gives. But slowly, if you stay with the process, if you keep reading out loud, if you keep repeating and feeling each sentence, something surprising begins to happen. The book stops feeling like an object. It starts feeling like a person, a quiet partner, a patient listener, a voice that speaks with you, not just to you. I know this may sound strange. How can a book become a speaking partner? It has no voice. It cannot answer you. It cannot react. But listen carefully, because this idea can change your entire learning experience. A speaking partner is not just someone who talks back, goes to teach you whatever you will. A speaking partner is something that makes you speak, something that keeps you engaged, something that helps your voice come out again and again without fear. And your book, if you use it the right way, can do exactly that. I remember a time when I had no one to practice with, no teacher, no friend, no one to speak English with, and this was painful because I wanted to speak, but I had no place to try. I felt stuck. I felt alone. And then one day, I asked myself a simple question. What if I stop waiting for a partner and start using what I already have? That day, I picked up my book and I changed the way I used it. I did not just read the sentences, I started talking to them. At first, it felt strange. I read a sentence, and then I answered it with my own words. I saw a question, and I tried to respond. I saw a situation, and I imagined myself inside it. I was not just reading anymore. I was participating. I was speaking. And slowly, the silence around me started to disappear. Let me give you a simple example. You read a line in your book, I am going to the market. Most learners will read it once and move on. But you stop. You repeat it. Then you ask yourself, where am I going? And you answer, I am going to the market. Then you change it. I am going to the park. I am going to school. I am going to meet my friend. Now something amazing is happening. You are not just reading one sentence. You are creating many sentences. You are playing with the language. You are making it yours. This is the moment. when the book becomes your speaking partner, because now it is not just giving you lines. It is giving you a chance to speak. And here is the deeper truth. You do not need a perfect partner to become a speaker. You need a consistent partner. Your book is always there. It does not get tired. It does not judge you. It does not laugh at your mistakes. It gives you a safe space, a private space, where you can try again and again without fear. Think about this. Many people are afraid to speak because they are afraid of people. They are afraid of making mistakes. They are afraid of being judged. But when you use your book as a partner, that fear becomes smaller. You speak freely. You experiment. You repeat. You build confidence step by step. There's a very important moment in this process, a moment when you stop caring about being perfect. A moment when you say, it is okay if I make mistakes. I just want to speak. That moment is powerful because that is when your voice starts to grow. Let me give you a retention moment you should never forget. Confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes because of speaking. Most people wait. They say, I will speak when I feel confident. But confidence does not work like that. It grows from action. It grows from trying. It grows from using your voice even when it feels weak. So when you sit with your book, do not be silent. Do not just read in your mind. Speak, even if your voice is low. Even if your pronunciation is not perfect. Even if you feel uncomfortable. Because every time you speak, you are training your brain and your mouth to work together. And this training is everything. There was a day when I realized something very simple, but very deep. I was reading my book, speaking each line, answering each sentence, playing with the words, and suddenly I forgot that I was learning. I felt like I was just talking. I felt natural. I felt free. That was not fluency yet, but it was the beginning of fluency. Because fluency is not about knowing everything. Fluency is about feeling comfortable with what you know. And your book, your simple book, can take you there. But you must change your role. Do not be a reader. Be a speaker. Do not be a passive learner. Be an active voice. Talk to the sentences. Answer them. Change them. Repeat them. Play with them. Feel them. And slowly, something beautiful will happen. Your book will stop being a book. It will become your daily conversation. It will become your practice ground. It will become your safe place. And one day, when you speak to a real person, you will not feel lost. Because your voice has already been practicing. Your words have already been flowing. Your confidence has already been growing. Quietly, every single day. Now I want you to think about your own journey. Are you still waiting for someone to practice with? Or are you ready to turn your book into your partner? Because the truth is simple. You already have everything you need. You just need to use it differently. And in the next chapter, I will show you a powerful secret, a simple shift that will help you stop translating in your mind and start thinking directly in English. Chapter 4. When you stop translating and start thinking. There is a silent problem that stops many learners from speaking, and most people do not even see it. It hides inside the mind. It works very fast, but it makes you very slow. Every time you want to speak, it appears. You hear a sentence in your head, but not in English. First, it comes in your own language. Then you try to change it. You search for words. You build the sentence step by step. And by the time you are ready, the moment is gone. The conversation is moved. Your chance has passed. And you feel that heavy feeling again. You feel late. You feel stuck. You feel silent. This is the translation trap. It feels helpful at the beginning. It feels like a bridge, but after some time it becomes a wall. Because speaking is not a slow process. Speaking is fast, natural, flowing. And translation breaks that flow. It cuts your confidence. It makes your mind busy and your voice weak. I remember when I was inside this trap, I would think of a simple sentence like, I am tired, but I would not say it directly. I would first think in my own language. Then I would search for the English words. Then I would check if it was correct. And by the time I opened my mouth, I felt unsure. I felt nervous. I felt like I was doing something wrong. One day, I asked myself a simple question. How do children learn a language? Do they translate? Do they build sentences in their mind first? No. They feel, they see, they connect, they speak without thinking too much. That day, I understood something important. If you want to speak naturally, you must learn naturally, and your book can help you do this. But again, you must use it in a different way. Instead of reading a sentence and translating it, try this. Read the sentence and imagine it. See it in your mind like a small movie. Feel the situation. Then say it. For example, you read, "She is walking in the rain." Do not translate. Just imagine a girl walking, rain falling. Maybe you feel the cold. Maybe you see the street. Now say the sentence. She is walking in the rain. Did you see what happened? You did not need your first language. You connected directly. You understood with feeling. Now, translation. This is the beginning of thinking in English. It does not happen in one day. It grows slowly, but every time you practice like this, you become faster. You become lighter. Your mind stops working too hard. Your voice becomes free. Here is a truth you need to hear. You do not need to translate to understand. You need to connect to understand. Translation is thinking about language. Connection is feeling language. And feeling is faster. This is why some people can speak easily. Even with simple words, they are not thinking about rules. They are not translating. They are just expressing. At first, when you try this method, your mind may feel empty. You may think, I cannot do it. I need translation. That is normal. Your brain is used to the old way. It wants to go back, but stay with the new way. Be patient with yourself. Start small. Read short sentences. Imagine them, say them, repeat them again and again, and slowly, something will change. One day, you will think of a sentence, and it will come directly in English. No translation. No delay. Just a simple, clear thought. That moment is powerful. Because that moment shows you that your brain is changing. Let me give you a strong retention line. The language you speak is the language you think. If you always think in your first language, your English will stay outside you. But if you start thinking in English, even with small sentences, your English will become a part of you. So your book is not just for reading. It is your tool to train your thinking. Every sentence you read is a chance to build a new way of thinking. Every repetition is a step away from translation. Every spoken line is a step toward freedom. There was a time when I noticed something beautiful. I was walking outside. I saw a man sitting on a bench. And without thinking, a sentence came into my mind. He looks tired. I stopped for a second. I smiled. Because that sentence did not come from translation. It came from feeling. It came naturally. That was a small moment, but it meant everything. Because I knew I was no longer learning English. I was starting to live it. And you can reach this point too, but you must trust the process. Do not rush. Do not try to be perfect. Do not fill your head with too many rules. Stay with simple sentences. Stay with your book. Stay with your voice. Read. Imagine, speak, again and again, and one day, your thoughts will change. Your mind will become lighter, your speaking will become easier, and the fear that once stopped you will slowly disappear. Now I want you to ask yourself something. When you read your book, are you translating or are you feeling? Because your answer to this question will decide your future. And in the next chapter, I will show you something even more powerful. A simple daily habit that can turn just 10 minutes of reading into real speaking confidence.
Chapter 5. The 10-minute habit that builds your voice.
There is a common belief that stops many learners before they even begin. It sounds very simple, but it is very dangerous. The belief is this: I need a lot of time to improve. So people wait. They wait for a free day. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for long hours with no stress. But that perfect time never comes. Days pass. Weeks pass. And the book stays closed. The voice stays quiet. And the dream of speaking English slowly becomes smaller. But what if I told you something different? What if I told you that you do not need hours? You do not need a perfect schedule. You do not need a big plan. You only need 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. But not any 10 minutes. 10 minutes with focus. 10 minutes with feeling. 10 minutes with your voice fully awake. I remember when I first understood this. I was busy. My days were full. I had no long time to sit and study. And for many days, I did nothing. I told myself, I will start tomorrow. But tomorrow kept moving away. And one day, I became tired of waiting. I said to myself, what if I stop waiting for more time and start using the little time I have? That day, I gave myself a small promise, just 10 minutes. No more, no pressure, no excuses. I opened my book. I chose one short part. I read one sentence. I spoke it. I repeated it. I felt it. I stayed present. I did not check my phone. I did not think about anything else. Just me, my book, and my voice. Those 10 minutes felt different. They felt real. The next day, I did the same thing. 10 minutes again, and then again, and again. After 1 week, something changed. Not in a big, loud way, but in a quiet, deep way. My voice felt more comfortable. My tongue felt more flexible. My fear felt smaller. After 1 month, the change was clear. I could speak simple sentences without stopping. I did not feel the same pressure. I did not feel the same fear. And I realized something very important. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Many people try to study hard for 1 day. Then they stop for 3 days. Then they try again. This cycle does not build fluency. It builds frustration. But when you do a small action every day, your brain learns faster. Your voice becomes stronger. Your confidence becomes stable. Let me tell you a simple truth you should never forget. 10 minutes every day is better than 2 hours once a week. Because fluency is not built in 1 day. It is built in many small days. Now let me show you how your 10 minutes can become powerful. You sit with your book. You choose a small section, maybe 5 sentences, not more. You read the first sentence slowly. You say it out loud. You repeat it 3 times. Then you close your eyes. You imagine it. You feel it. And then you say it again. Then you move to the second sentence. You do the same. Slowly, calmly. No rush. After that, You go back. You say all the sentences together. Like a small story. Like a small conversation. And here is the secret step. You change the sentences. You make them your own. If the sentence says, I wake up early, you change it to, I wake up at 6. Or, I wake up late. You play with the words. You create new lines. Now you are not just repeating. You are creating. And creation builds confidence. There is a moment during this practice when something beautiful happens. You forget the time. You forget your fear. You just speak. Your voice flows a little more easily. Your mind feels lighter. That moment is not luck. That moment is training. Let me give you a strong retention line. Your voice grows in the minutes you do not skip. Every day you show up, even for 10 minutes. You are building something powerful inside you. Something that no one can see at first. But one day, everyone will hear. There will be days when you feel tired. Days when you feel lazy. Days when your mind says, skip today. That is the test. Not the test of your English, but the test of your commitment. And here is what you do in those moments. You do not think too much. You just open the book. You just start. Even if your energy is low, even if your voice is weak, even if your mood is not good, because action creates energy, not the other way around. I remember one evening when I felt very tired. I did not want to practice. I wanted to rest, but I remembered my promise. 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. I opened my book slowly. I started reading. My voice was soft. My focus was not strong, but I continued. And after a few minutes, something changed. My energy came back. My voice became clearer. My mind became present. And when I finished, I felt proud, not because I did something big, but because I did not stop. That feeling is important. Because every time you keep your promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Not just in English, but in life. So now I want you to imagine something. You wake up tomorrow, or maybe later today. You take your book. You sit for 10 minutes. You read. You speak. You repeat, you feel, and you do this again the next day. The next. After 1 week, you feel a small change. After 1 month, you see a clear change. After 3 months, you become a different person. Not perfect, but confident. Not fluent in everything, but strong in what you know. And that is enough. Because from there, you can grow even more. Now ask yourself honestly, do you really need more time? Or do you just need to start with 10 minutes? Because your voice is not waiting for a perfect plan. It is waiting for a simple action. And in the next chapter, I will show you something even deeper. How this small habit begins to change. Not just your speaking, but your identity. Chapter 6. When your identity starts to change, there is a point in your journey where something very deep begins to shift. It is not just your words. It is not just your pronunciation. It is not even your confidence alone. It is something bigger, something more powerful. It is your identity, the way you see yourself, the way you describe yourself in your own mind, the quiet sentence you repeat inside every single day. At the beginning, many learners carry a heavy identity. They say things like, I am bad at English. I cannot speak. I always forget words. These sentences may feel true, but they are not facts. They are habits. Thoughts repeated so many times that they feel real. And the more you repeat them, the more your brain believes them. The more your brain believes them, the more your actions follow them. And slowly, without knowing, you build a cage around yourself. But something changes when you start using your book in the way you learn. When you read out loud. When you speak daily. When you give yourself those 10 minutes again and again, at first, the change is small. You notice that you can say simple sentences. You notice that you do not stop as much. You notice that your fear is a little less. These are small wins. But small wins are not small. They are the beginning of a new identity. One day, you will catch yourself saying something different, not to others, but to yourself. You will say, I can speak a little. It may feel like a small sentence, but it is a big shift because now your identity is changing. You are no longer someone who cannot speak. You are someone who can speak a little. And this little is very powerful because it grows. I remember the first time I felt this change. I was sitting with my book, doing my usual practice, reading, speaking, repeating, and then without thinking, I said a full sentence clearly. No stopping. No fear. It was simple, but it was smooth. I paused, I smiled, and in that moment, I felt something new. I did not feel like a learner. I felt like a speaker, even if just a small one. That feeling stayed with me. And from that day, something inside me became stronger. I was not waiting to become perfect. I was not waiting to know everything. I had already started becoming the person I wanted to be. This is the secret most people miss. You do not become confident after you become fluent. You become confident while you are becoming fluent. Confidence grows with action. Identity grows with repetition. Every time you sit with your book and speak, you are not just practicing English. You are practicing a new version of yourself. And here is a powerful line I want you to remember. You become what you do every day. If you stay silent every day, you become someone who stays silent. But if you speak every day, even a little, you become someone who speaks. It is that simple. But many people make it complicated. They wait for big changes. They wait for perfect conditions. They wait for a moment when everything feels right. But identity does not change in one big moment. It changes in many small moments. Every time you open your book, you choose who you are becoming. Every time you speak a sentence, you are telling your brain, this is me now. At first, your brain may not believe it. It may say, no, this is not you. But if you continue, if you repeat, if you show up every day, your brain starts to accept it. It starts to build new beliefs. I am learning. I am improving. I can speak. And then one day, I am a speaker. This change is quiet. No one will clap. No one will announce it, but you will feel it. And that feeling will change how you act in the real world. You will raise your hand more. You will try to speak more. You will not run away from conversations. You will step forward slowly, but surely. There was a time when I avoided speaking at all costs. I would stay silent even when I knew the answer. I was afraid of making mistakes, afraid of sounding wrong. But after building this new identity, something changed. I still made mistakes, but I did not fear them the same way, because I was no longer someone who should be perfect. I was someone who was growing, and growth is never perfect. Growth is messy. It is slow. It is full of mistakes, but it is real. Let me give you a retention moment you should never forget. You are not stuck. You are becoming. Right now, you may feel slow. You may feel unsure. But that does not mean you are not moving. Every sentence you speak, every minute you practice, every time you try again, you are building something. You are building your voice. You are building your confidence. You are building your identity. And once your identity changes, everything else becomes easier because now You are not forcing yourself to speak. You are simply being who you are, a speaker. So now I want you to ask yourself something honestly. When you think about yourself, what do you say? Do you say, I cannot speak? Or do you say, I am learning to speak? Because that one sentence, that one belief can change your entire journey. And your book, your simple daily practice, is the tool that helps you rewrite that belief slowly, gently, powerfully. In the next chapter, we will go even deeper. You will discover how this new identity begins to show in real-life situations when you finally speak to others. Chapter 7. When your voice meets the real world, there comes a moment, a quiet but powerful moment, when everything you've been doing alone begins to step into the real world. Until now, your book has been your partner. Your room has been your safe space. Your voice has been growing in silence. You have been reading, repeating, feeling, and slowly building confidence. But now, something new appears. A real person, a real situation, a real chance to speak. And suddenly, your heart beats faster. This moment feels different. Because now, it is not just you and your book. It is you and the world. I remember the first time I faced this moment. I had practiced for days. I had spoken many sentences alone. I felt ready, or at least I thought I was ready. But when the real moment came, when someone looked at me and waited for my answer, something inside me froze. My mind became empty. My voice felt far away, and for a second, I felt that old fear again. Maybe you know this feeling. You practice alone, and it feels easy. But when it is time to speak in front of someone, everything changes. Your confidence shakes, your words hide, and you start thinking, I am not ready. But listen carefully, because this is important. You are more ready than you think. The problem is not your ability. The problem is your fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged, fear of sounding wrong. But here is the truth. The real world is not waiting for perfect English. The real world is waiting for real communication. People do not care if your sentence is perfect. They care if they can understand you. They care if you try. They care if you connect. And your book has already prepared you for this. Every sentence you practiced, every word you repeated, every moment you spoke alone, it was not a waste. It was training. It was preparation. It was building your voice, step by step. Now, it is time to trust that voice. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. The first real conversation will never feel perfect. It will feel uncomfortable. It will feel slow. You may stop. You may forget words. You may make mistakes. But that is not failure. That is the beginning. There is a powerful shift that happens when you move from practice to real life. In practice, you control everything. In real life, you do not. And that is what makes it scary, but also what makes it powerful. Because real speaking is not about control. It is about response. You listen. You understand. You try. You answer. You continue. And every time you do this, you become stronger. Let me give you a simple way to think about it. Do not try to speak perfectly. Try to speak simply. Use the sentences you already know. Do not try to impress. Do not try to sound advanced. Stay with your simple, clear, strong sentences. If you practiced, I am learning English every day, then say it. If you practiced, I like reading books, then say it. If you practiced, I feel nervous, but I want to try, Then say it. Simple sentences, real feelings, clear communication. That is enough. There was a moment I will never forget. I was talking to someone in English. My sentences were not perfect. I made small mistakes, but I kept going. I did not stop. I did not run away. And at the end, the person smiled and understood me. That smile meant everything, because it showed me something important. I did not need to be perfect to be understood. And when you feel that for the first time, something inside you changes forever. Your fear becomes smaller. Your courage becomes bigger. Your voice becomes stronger. Let me give you a strong retention line. The first time you speak is not a test. It is a door. A door to a new version of yourself. And yes, it may feel heavy to open it, but once you do, you will see that it was never locked. Now, there will be moments when you feel uncomfortable. Moments when your words do not come easily. Moments when you think, I sounded wrong. That is okay. That is part of the journey. Do not go back to silence. Do not hide again. Use your book again. Go back to your practice. Strengthen your sentences. Repeat them. Feel them. And then come back to the real world again. Because growth is not one step. It is many steps. Practice. Try. Learn. Repeat. And each time, you become better. I want you to imagine something now. You are in a simple conversation. Maybe with a friend. Maybe with a stranger. You feel a little nervous, but you start speaking. Your sentences are simple, but they are clear. You pause sometimes, but you continue. And slowly, you feel more comfortable. That is your future. Not perfect, but real. And real is powerful. Now ask yourself honestly, are you waiting to feel perfect? Or are you ready to step into the real world with what you already know? Because your voice is not built in silence. It is built in use. And in the next chapter, we will complete this journey. You will see how everything comes together and how this simple book becomes a part of your life forever. Chapter 8. The book that stays with you forever. There is a beautiful moment at the end of every journey when you look back and realize that what changed was not just your skill, but your life. At the beginning, this was just a book, just pages, just words. You opened it with doubt. You read it with fear. You spoke with hesitation. But step by step, sentence by sentence, something inside you started to grow. Something quiet, something real, something strong. Now, the book is no longer just a book. It has become a part of you. You do not just read it anymore. You remember it. You feel it. Its sentences live in your mind. Its words come to your lips without effort. It is no longer something you use. It is something you carry. This is the true power of learning. Not when you can answer questions, but when the language becomes your voice. I remember a simple moment that showed me this change. I was not studying. I was not sitting with my book. I was just living my day. And suddenly, I spoke a sentence in English without thinking. It was natural. It was easy. And I realized I did not try to speak. I just spoke. That moment was quiet, but it was everything. Because it showed me that English was no longer outside me. It was inside me. And that is where your journey is going. Not to a place where you know every word, but to a place where you feel free to express yourself. There is a deep truth you must understand now. Fluency is not a finish line. It is a lifestyle. It is something you live every day. It grows with you. It changes with you. It becomes a part of your thinking, your speaking, your feeling, and your book, the one you were once afraid to open, becomes your guide, your reminder, your quiet teacher. Even when you stop reading it every day, its impact stays. Because it has trained your mind. It has trained your voice. It has shown you how to learn. You now know how to read with feeling, how to speak with courage, how to practice with consistency, how to trust yourself. And these lessons are bigger than English. They are life skills. Because the same way you learn to speak is the same way you can learn anything. With patience, with repetition, with belief. There is something else that happens at this stage. You stop looking at English as a subject. You stop seeing it as something difficult. Instead, you start using it naturally. You think in it. You feel in it. You express your ideas without fear. And slowly, something beautiful happens. You begin to connect. You talk to people. You understand more. You share your thoughts. You tell your story. And your story matters because your voice matters. Let me give you a strong retention moment you will always remember. The goal was never perfect English. The goal was your voice. And now, your voice is awake. It may not be perfect. It may still be growing, but it is alive. It is moving. It is real, and that is enough. There was a time when you stayed silent, a time when you felt stuck, a time when you thought, maybe I cannot do this. But look at you now. You opened the book. You stayed with the process. You spoke again and again. You did not give up. That is not a small thing. That is transformation. And this transformation will not stop here, because now you know the path. You know that learning is not about rushing. It is about showing up. You know that mistakes are not the end. They are part of the process. You know that confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build. So wherever you go from here, remember this. Your book was just the beginning. Your real journey is your life. Speak when you can. Practice when you can. Feel the language. Live the language. And never go back to silence. Because you are not that person anymore. You are someone who speaks. You are someone who tries. You are someone who grows. Now take a deep breath and feel this moment. You started with fear. You continued with effort. You arrived with confidence. And this is just the beginning. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this journey. You did not just watch this video. You walked through it. You felt it. You saw your own struggle inside it. And maybe you also saw your own strength. Remember, you do not need to be perfect to move forward. You only need to keep going. One small step at a time. One simple sentence at a time. Your voice is growing, even when you cannot hear it clearly yet. Trust that growth. Subscribe for more motivational audiobooks and stories in easy English. Share this video with someone who needs it. Save this for a time when you feel lost or tired.